My name is Suzanne Ritter. I've been involved in dogs since 1980 with the Australian Shepherds, and they went into AKC. We started registering them around 89, and we were 91, no, it was 91. And then in 94, we started showing the dogs and all. So, yeah, it's been a long time with AKC. Even before that, I had a Sheltie just because I wanted to show one in AKC. Then I got into Aussies in 1980, and I was a Hall of Fame breeder in Aussies. And then when the opportunity came up that minis were going to be accepted into AKC, I got my first mini in 2011. I really wanted to breed a Kentucky Derby winner, which obviously has nothing to do with dogs. But then when I realized that that was probably out of my range financially, I decided I wanted to breed a Westminster winner. I mean, I've always loved dogs, even the English setter. That was my 4-H project. I worked for a vet in the early 70s and saw an Australian Shepherd and really got interested in him. And what's interesting is that Australian Shepherd was about 16 inches. So it was really more of a mini size. And then finally had an opportunity. I went to see a horse that I owned at a stable that somebody had leased, and and they had Aussie puppies there. And I got my first Aussie puppy. She was only 17 inches, again, mini size. And so then I got into Aussies around 1980, connected with other people, did some breeding, then got into really good ones around 1984 and started doing more competitive showing and all. And won the Nationals in 1991 with my Aussie, best of breed at the Nationals. And then from there, when I got into the minis, I mean, we've done extremely well with the minis as well. So I've had best opposite at Westminster, and I've put titles on, champion titles on probably 100 minis already. I have titles of dogs that I've bred, obviously not this many different dogs, but of dogs that I've bred, I've got titles, and this is Aussies and minis, of 600 at least. The last I looked, it was 576, but that was like 4 or 5 years ago. Kennel management is matching dogs up appropriately so that if they have competition eating, and yet they're not one dog eating all the food and the other one not getting anything. And just making sure you keep up on all that health. There's also health tests. I do all the health tests, and as new things come up, we get it done. I want to read the research, and I want to know who did the research and all. And I've had graduate level courses enough that I can handle that. The DNA test, well, we just had a new thing come up in the minis, so you got to stay up on things. And I do have a few dogs that have NAD, but the carriers, they're only carriers, but it's also being aware of what's going on, because even before they identified MDR1, I was on top of it. And I knew there were certain dogs that shouldn't be bred together. I don't know why, I just trusted my instincts from what I saw and outcomes. You've got to stay on top of your puppies. You got to know where they've gone, know what they're going through, tell the people to always get back in touch with you. My most significant accomplishment is meeting my goals. And my goals in breeding dogs are to breed dogs that are intelligent, dogs that have good temperaments, dogs that have versatility and overall brains and biddability, and make great pets, and are genetically sound and conformationally sound. That's a lot of goals. I have titles in every single venue that there is for the different breeds that we have, the main venues, the herding, the agility, obedience, rally, and at master's levels also. So to me, these dogs were able to do it all. Believe it or not, is hearing back from people that, this is the best dog I've ever owned. I love to hear that. I can't get enough of that. I don't care if it's their pet. I don't care if they're out showing it and winning or doing agility or whatever. To me, it's selling the person a dog that's exactly what they wanted and hearing back from them that it was. The decisions you make can go on for generations. I look at pedigrees, I look at coefficients of inbreeding. I will breed a little closer than other people maybe, but I'm not pushing the envelope. I want to look at all the pedigrees and see what the possibilities are. And if I have to outcross, I always breed type to type. When I went from Aussies to, this is important, when I went from Aussies to minis, and we were allowed to breed Aussies into minis, and I went looking for minis that were obviously smaller, but the same type, and it worked very well for me. I had a mentor to begin with who was an Aussie breeder that was known for producing 5 national best of breed winners. The interesting thing is you can learn something from everybody. Sometimes you learn what to do, and sometimes you learn what not to do. First significant challenge was Iris coloboma. How did I overcome it? You keep the dogs that didn't have it. That was the first start. Then we had hereditary cataracts, and we didn't have testing at that point in time. It's easier now because there's DNA testing for all these things. So then you move away from that. And of course we did hips. I was the first person to do an Aussie with pen hip. Challenges. How about this challenge? I was hitting a COI of 25 to 30%. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've got to go outcross. So I went looking for a dog that was type. This is where I learned about the type to type. I figured that one out on my own. I went looking for the dog that was the right type, but an outcross, and brought one in. And from that came my main dog, Player. He turned around and was very influential in both the minis and the Aussies. A few years ago at Westminster, there was more than half the dogs in the Aussies were his kids or grandkids, and more than half the dogs in the minis that were with ribbons at the end at Westminster were his kids or grandkids. Probably the biggest thing I overcame was I bred out to a dog that brought in bone, coat, a whole bunch of things that I wanted, herding instinct, a whole bunch of things I wanted. He also brought in hip dysplasia. And I had to work my way back out of the hip dysplasia. Every time you outcross, everybody thinks outcrossing is the answer. Every time you outcross, you bring something else in. It's very hard to accomplish what I've accomplished without having at least 10 dogs, because you've got your puppies growing up, you've got your show dogs, you've got your breeding dogs, and you've got your older dogs. Honestly, if you really think about it, it's hard to do what I've done in these last 40 years. If I started now, it'd be very hard to do it.